Principles of economic equality, strong labor unions and state protections of workers' interests, a growing and robust welfare state centered on universal social insurance, high state investment in education, healthcare, science, and technology, greater openness to immigration, and ethno-racial religious diversity, the strengthening of liberal democratic institutions, and a general sense of optimism. 4 decades since the end of this era, the denizens of Europe and North America are suffering reversals of all these developments. Workers, the welfare state, openness to immigration, and, most ominously, liberal democratic institutions are in retreat or under grave threat, while uncertainty and anxiety about our economic, political, and environmental futures loom large. Things weren't supposed to turn out this way. 3 decades ago, the fall of communist regimes across Eastern Europe, the end of the Cold War, and the global replacement of dictatorships with democratic regimes were widely held to vindicate free markets and liberal democracy as the key institutions of free and flourishing societies. We were supposed to be entering a glorious new era of economic growth, ever more open to an increasingly diverse and cooperative world, in which these institutions would spread across the globe. What happened? The economic dimensions of the current crisis are not mysterious. Since the mid-1970s, neoliberal economic policies have increasingly prevailed in the rich democracies. A list of such policies would include the following: enacting international trade agreements that strongly favor capital interests and constrain democratic policymaking, deregulating markets, especially in the financial sector, tightening bankruptcy regulations, and imposing harsher policies toward individual and state debtors, enhancing intellectual property protections, cutting taxes, especially on top incomes, capital income, and inheritance, retrenching the welfare state, especially replacing cash benefits with benefits conditioned on work, weakening antitrust enforcements, assaulting labor unions and laws protecting workers, reducing workers' pensions, delegating labor and trade disputes to private arbitrators, outsourcing public functions to private enterprise, and replacing Keynesian economic policies oriented to full employment with fiscal austerity. Taken together, these policies have had 3 principal effects. First, they have increased economic inequality and shifted the distribution of income from labor to capital, leading to stagnant wages for lower-tier workers, even as productivity has grown. Second, these policies have also constrained and undermined democracy, reducing its ability to respond to the needs and interests of ordinary people. Outsourcing reduces state capacities and often leaves citizens with little practical recourse if resulting private providers of public services abuse their effective monopoly power. Tax cuts reduce the resources available to democratic states and may subject them to harsh discipline by creditors when states borrow to meet their needs for revenue. Trade agreements and fiscal austerity sharply limit the ability of democratic states to provide public goods, protect workers and the environment, and respond to economic crises. Third, neoliberal policies have shifted economic and political power to private businesses, executives, and the very rich. More and more, these organizations and individuals govern everyone else. Employees are governed by their bosses, not only at work but often off-duty. Even many so-called independent contractors, purportedly in business for themselves, are minutely governed by the firms that pay them. Businesses that operate prisons, immigrant detention centers, mental hospitals, nursing homes, halfway houses, and